It is of faith that there is a hell. In the middle of this earth is this prison, reserved for the punishment of those who rebel against God. What is hell? It is a place of torments. A place of torments where all the senses and powers of the damned shall have their appropriate torment. And the more a person has offended God in any particular sense, so much more shall he be tormented in that sense. With what compassion should we hear that a poor man was enclosed in a dark pit for his whole life, or for 40 or 50 years? Hell is a pit enclosed on every side, where no ray of the sun or any other light ever enters. The sense of smell shall be tormented. We read in the life of St. Martin that the evil one appeared to him on one occasion, and the stench that filled the room was so overwhelming that the saint said to himself, "If one single devil has such a disgusting odor, what can the stench be in hell, where there are thousands of devils altogether? In hell they will be laid over one another, heaped up together like sheep in the winter season. Nay more, they will be like grapes crushed under the press of the wrath of God." The Venerable Bede relates the following story of a man who was dangerously sick, and one night was thought to be dead. The next morning he recovered consciousness, to the astonishment of all who were with him, and rose from his sickbed, saying that God had granted him an extension of days in order that he might lead a different life. After dividing his property among his children and giving a portion of it to the poor, he entered upon an excessively different mode of life. Shutting himself up in a small tent beside a river, he spent his days and nights in weeping. In wintertime he plunged up to the throat in the icy waters of the river, and then, shivering and benumbed by the cold, he immersed himself in hot water, which caused him such agony that he could not restrain his cries. When questioned as to the reason of his strange conduct, and how he could possibly bear the sudden alternations of extreme heat and extreme cold, he replied, "I have seen worse things than that." "What did you see?" the others asked him. And he replied, "I have seen how the unhappy souls in another world are cast out of a raging fire into icy cold, and from icy cold back into the burning flames. When I realize what they have to endure, I count my slight sufferings as nothing." This story, related by such a holy man as Venerable Bede, shows how terrible indeed are the torments of hell. The punishments of this life pass, but the punishments of the other life never pass. The punishment of hell will be great, but that which ought most terrify us is that it will be irrevocable. Hell is but little for a mortal sin. An offense against infinite majesty deserves an infinite punishment, says St. Bernardine of Siena. Moreover, this pain must necessarily be eternal, because the damned can no longer satisfy for their sins. In this life, the penitent sinner can satisfy for his sins insofar as the merits of Jesus Christ are applied to him, but the damned soul is excluded from these merits. It is related in the spiritual exercise of Father Sergioni the Younger, that in Rome the devil who dwelt in one obsessed, being asked how long he would have to remain in hell, replied in a rage, beating his hand against a chair, "Forever, forever." So great was the terror thus inspired, that many youths of the Roman seminary, who were there present, made a general confession and changed their lives at this great sermon of 2 words, "Forever, forever." Poor Judas, 2,000 years have elapsed since he has been in hell, and his hell is still only beginning. If an angel were to say to one of the damned, "Thou shalt leave hell, but when as many ages have passed as there are drops of water, leaves on the trees, and grains of sand on the seashore," he would rejoice more than a beggar on hearing that he was made a king. Yes, because all those ages will pass away, even if they be multiplied an infinite number of times, and hell will still only be beginning. Each one of the damned would make this agreement with God: "Lord, increase my pains as much as thou wilt. Make it last as long as thou pleasest. But put a limit to it, and I am content." But no, this limit will never be. The trumpet of divine justice will sound forth in hell nothing but "Forever, forever." The damned will ask of the devils, What hour of the night is it? When will it end? When will these trumpets, these cries, this stench, these flames, these torments end? And the answer will be, never. And how long will they last? Forever. Ah, Lord, give light to the many blind ones, who when told not to lose their souls replied, if I go to hell in the end, well, I must have patience. O God, they have not the patience to bear a little cold, to remain in a hot room, to endure a blow, and yet they will have patience to live in a sea of fire, trampled upon by devils and abandoned by God and by everyone for all eternity? On the sight of the demons. Besides what has already been mentioned, the terrible appearance of the evil spirits makes death yet more alarming to us. It is the opinion of many of the fathers that everyone when expiring sees the evil enemy. How appalling this sight is, and with what terror it must inspire the dying exceeds the power of words to declare. It is related of Brother Giles that one day, when he was praying in his cell, the devil appeared to him in so frightful a shape that the brother lost the power of speech and thought his last hour had come. As his lips could not utter a sound, he raised his heart in humble supplication to God, and the apparition vanished. Afterwards, when relating what had befallen him to his brother monks, he trembled from head to foot as he described the hideous aspect of the adversary of mankind. Then going to St. Francis, he asked him this question, Father, have you ever seen anything in this world, the sight of which was so horrible that it was enough to kill one to behold it? And the saint replied, I have indeed seen such a thing. It is none other than the devil, whose aspect is so loathsome that no one could gaze upon it even for a short time and live, unless God specially enabled him to do so. St. Cyril, also writing to St. Augustine, says that one of the 3 men who were raised from the dead told him, as the hour of my departure drew nigh, a multitude of devils, countless in number, came and stood about me. Their forms were more horrible than anything imagination can conceive. One would rather be burned in fire than to be compelled to look upon them. These demons gathered themselves around me, and reproached me with all the misdeeds I had ever done, thinking to drive me to despair. And in fact I should have given way before them, had not God in his mercy come to my assistance. St. Anthony relates that one of the brothers of his order uttered a piercing scream at the sight of a devil who appeared to him. His fellow monks, running to him in alarm, found him more dead than alive. After giving him something to revive and strengthen him, they asked him what the matter was. Then he told them that the devil had appeared to him and terrified him so that all the life had gone out of him. And on their inquiring what the devil looked like, he answered, That I really cannot say. I can only say that if the choice were given me, I would rather be put into a red-hot furnace than look again at the countenance of the demon. We read much of the same thing in the life of St. Catherine of Siena. She too declared that she would rather walk through a flaming fire than gaze for one instant at the devil. If the mere sight of the evil one is so appalling that the saints think it more intolerable than the pain of exposure to a burning fire, what, my God, must be the fear and horror of the damned, dwelling forever in the midst of countless fiends? How terrified would thou be if a mad dog were to suddenly spring upon thee, pull thee to the ground, and to begin to tear thee with his teeth? Do not imagine that the devil will fall upon the damned with less fury, or treat them more mercifully. We read in the legend of St. Anthony the Hermit that demons frequently appeared to him under various forms, frightening him in indescribable ways. Sometimes they took the shape of wild beasts, lions, bears, dragons, or savage dogs. At other times they appeared in human form, that of fierce-looking men, beautiful women, or monsters of hideous aspect. Sometimes they beat him and maltreated him so cruelly that they left him half dead. Sometimes they caused him such terror by their strange spectral apparitions that had not God and his angel guardian come to his aid, he would have expired. Now if they did this all to a man of saintly life, of whom they had no rightful power, What will they not do in hell to the ungodly sinners who are completely at their mercy? No one can imagine what new terrors and torments these spirits of hell will devise to harass the damned, and to pour out on them their devilish malice.